The Pakistani Southern Belle Goes Hollywood via Georgia. Published July 14th, 2023 by Nadia Ilahi. April 2023, Columbus, Georgia. How's my show creator this morning? The text message read, sent at 6:01 a.m. Friday morning on April 14th from my friend Vanessa. I typed back, LOL, upside down smiley face emoji. I'm good. How's my co-writer? She ha-ha'd the message back. Vanessa's early morning text to me didn't have to wake me up as I was already fully awake. In fact, I remember getting very little sleep during the night, the events of the previous day still reeling in my head. Perhaps the same for Vanessa, but she has a 10-year-old, so early mornings are in her wheelhouse. But for me, this reality of what would be happening to my professional life kept me from any sleep. I was still on a high, despite being sober from the celebratory cocktails Vanessa and I shared at the rooftop bar of the Indigo Hotel overlooking the Chattahoochee River in Columbus, Georgia. The featured photo of this post depicts that night. Cut to random Thursday night in November 2017, North Hollywood. Vanessa and I met in the 5th grade at Jack Hayes Elementary, but became fast friends when we attended middle school at Washita Parish Junior High. Fast forward from those early days in the late 80s, early 90s, we then moved to Los Angeles in 1999 to pursue acting. Fast forward a bit more to 2017. Vanessa is an accomplished playwright and screenwriter. I am a tenured English professor, both of us still living in LA. And in November of 2017, we were having one of our regular get-togethers, cocktails and pub grub while catching up from where we left off from our last meetup. This November night's location, the Idle Hour near my North Hollywood apartment, the barrel-shaped looking bar on Lankershim Boulevard. Vanessa is family, home to me. So even when we go months without catching up, it's never felt like there was any time between the last visit. And on this gal's night out, I pitched Vanessa an idea for a TV show. Shortly after launching this blog on April 1st, 2017, and cranking out 10 posts thereafter, the TV-loving fan in me got an idea. What if Pakistani Southern Belle was a TV show? After a vodka soda or two and noshing on pulled pork and tater tots, I pitched Vanessa the idea of a television show based on my blog. I don't remember all the details of this pitch meeting, but I remember telling her this show would be a cross between The Wonder Years meets My So-Called Life meets Sex and the City meets Fresh Off the Boat. That's a lot of meeting, I know, and these are all very different shows, by the way, and in hindsight, I can see a bit of Ally McBeal in it, too. But if you're familiar with any of these shows in my blog, you may get the idea of where this could go. So aside from Vanessa's writing talents, as previously mentioned, and our long-standing friendship since middle school, there's no one else I would want to do this show with than her. There's no one else I could think to help me write something so personally based, especially since she was literally there to witness a lot of the experiences that I share in my blog. Okay, let's press the rewind button a bit before November 2017. As most of you know, I launched this blog in April 2017. For as long as I can remember, I have always had something to say. Whether the argumentative, stubborn debater in me always has to have the last word, or the creative imaginator in me always had a story to tell, I decided to combine the two with this blog, Pakistani Southern Belle. Prior to blogging, my writing experience goes back to my early days in grade school and then high school, where I wrote plays which were produced by my school, directed by me. While these were going on, I still wrote other stories, soap opera-like tales featuring characters based on my friends and me. After high school, some of the playwriting continued as I was a theater major, but I was there mainly to perform on stage. And though I moved to LA after college to pursue acting, the writer in me never went away. Soon after moving back to Louisiana in 2002, I enrolled in graduate school to major in English with an emphasis in creative writing. I figured I would try this I'm a writer lifestyle, like Toni Morrison, Stephen King, or some other big shot writer, not knowing I still had to eat and pay my bills. But I wrote, and a copy of my graduate thesis, a collection of short stories and poems, sits on the shelf of my university library, I'm proud to say, and I even wrote a screenplay once back in LA while I was doing the whole part-time adjunct teaching gig before landing the full-time tenure track position. Even though I left the TV and film industry a long time ago, my love for all things TV and film never left me. I have shared in previous posts about how my father passed this obsession down to me, something I deeply believe he did, and I devoted a whole blog post to it back in 2020. Catch up here at this link if you're clueless. But I started to develop the idea of how I could translate this TV idea into a reality, and months later, while having one of my usual outings with Vanessa, I pitched her the concept. I'll admit, I was very nervous for her reaction as far as wondering if she would want to be on board. And, well, she was. I was both relieved and very excited. Immediately after the pitch over drinks, I followed her instructions. I would have to write the beat sheet for the pilot episode. Basically come up with a detailed outline of what the first episode would entail. I'll admit the whole process felt very daunting to me, but that's how I always feel when given a task I've never performed before. Though my early beginnings of writing started with playwriting and the one screenplay I wrote, most of my writing has been primarily in prose, both fiction and nonfiction. But regardless of my initial intimidating feelings to create that beat sheet for episode 1, I did it. And thanks to the template Vanessa provided me, I cranked out a well-thought-out pilot. What was the template? The beat sheet for Breaking Bad. I mean, how awesome is that show? From there, Vanessa took the beat sheet and drafted episode 1, where she added all the dialogue and technical components for a TV script, something I was already familiar with. Thank you, Save the Cat, but not fully confident with before this. Then finally, in October of 2019, Vanessa gifted me with her draft of the pilot episode. Between 2019 to 2022, we worked on getting a final completed pilot episode of Pakistani Southern Belle. We went through many revisions, edits, even workshopped it with fellow writers before getting to a point where we both felt fully happy and satisfied with where the pilot was and could go. Meanwhile, I was also working on an outline for an 8-episode season 1. This all transpired with us living in LA until Vanessa announced to me, "We're moving to Atlanta." She tells me this as we're having drinks at my happy place, Disneyland California Adventure Theme Parks, knowing the venue could soften the blow, sneaky gal. And with that, in the summer of 2022, Vanessa, her husband French, and daughter Helene moved to Atlanta while I was working toward a much-needed teaching sabbatical for 2023. Part of that sabbatical would include a long overdue trip to the South, which you may know about if you've been reading my posts this year, as I spent 3 separate parts covering my time in Atlanta, my hometown of Monroe, and New Orleans. Which brings us back to April 2023. I arrived at Vanessa and French's new home in Atlanta on a Tuesday evening. After the home tour provided to me by the lovely hostess of Helene, their daughter, I immediately felt at home as I was welcomed to a hefty, refreshing cocktail of my usual vodka soda while I sat at the kitchen island catching up with Vanessa as she prepared a quick and delicious dinner for us all. As I sipped on my drink, the effects already hitting my empty stomach, I ate little on the flight as the whole flying concept stirs my anxiety. I was thoroughly engaged in conversation with my girl as she began to share some news with me. "I got a new job," Vanessa announces enthusiastically. I gleefully listen to her as she describes the new job, VP of Development at a new production company, Story Mill Entertainment, based just outside of Atlanta in Columbus, Georgia, an hour-and-a-half drive away, where she'll work in the office part of the week and part of the week at home. "Oh, wow, that's awesome," I exclaim, still sipping heavily on my cocktail. She then begins to tell me the hows and whys of her getting this job, then mentions she left her laptop in the office, so we'll go back on Thursday to pick it up. I'm thinking, field trip to Vanessa's new office, woohoo! But before I know it, she's also telling me that she shared some of the projects she's working on with the company, which includes Pakistani Southern Belle. Story Mill's CEO and his wife, a co-founder as well, are intrigued by this title, and before I know it, "So they want to meet you. Did you bring any business meeting attire?" She asks this with a sly grin on her face. Imagine a near spit take with my vodka soda while my jaw drops to the floor. I still remember sitting at our kitchen island, drink in hand, with my mouth wide open, my eyes saying it all. What? Some of it is a blur now, but I rambled off. "I'm on vacation. I brought springy dresses and my Converse." Vanessa laughs at me. As it turns out, whatever I did bring was fine to wear. But I had flashbacks of the tenure track interview I had in 2013, and that black business suit is long gone since. And frankly, business attire for me, especially these days, is wearing a cute springy summery dress with my Chuck Taylors. I mean, I had just bought a pair of cute sage green shoreline slip-on Chucks I was excited to sport in Atlanta. Anyway, Vanessa shares this news to me on a Tuesday, and our meeting was set for Thursday. Not to mention, the next morning, Vanessa tells me to forward her the latest draft of our pilot episode, as the two co-founders of StoryMail want to read the pilot. I happily email her the latest draft, but folks, I was nervous. Meanwhile, I can see through my blog's analytics, the stats, that there was more traffic between Tuesday and Thursday. The CEO and his wife were reading my past blogs. Squeal! They were checking me out. Double squeal! But I get it. They were getting a sense of me and my IP, intellectual property. Production companies are more interested in adapting something from an original work with a following, like a book or a video game. Hello, The Last of Us and The Witcher, and remember Sex and the City? I must admit, I felt I was auditioning for a role unprepared. It's not like I'm saying I didn't want them to read any of my work, but at the same time, I was freaking out a bit. Think about it. I was on vacation. I just thought I can see my dear old friend in her new city. We can chat about episode 2 over drinks. I had just sent her beat sheet for episode 2 prior to my trip, and I can take in some good southern food. That's where I was at. I didn't think actual movement would be happening from this pitch idea I had all the way back from 2017 at the Idle Hour Bar in North Hollywood. I live in LA. I didn't think I had to come to Georgia to make this show a reality. It was like writing to Santa Claus for that new Gem and the Holograms doll to accompany your collection, and not only does Santa actually bring you the new addition to your collection, but you catch him coming down the chimney too. And y'all, I didn't even have a fireplace as a kid growing up. Oh, and I never did get that Gem and the Hologram addition to my collection, just a pair of jeans wrapped up in one of my old Gem dolls boxes. Nice one, Mercy. But I digress. So you're wondering how the meeting with the co-founders of StoryMail Entertainment went. Well, after meeting both the CEO and co-founder, John and Elena Mock, super nice people by the way, fellow Star Wars fans, getting a tour of Flat Rock Studios in Columbus where the production company is based, and before lunch at Chicken Salad Chick to discuss me, I was anxious and, again, nervous to say the least. I was afraid introverted Nadia would come out and I would not know how to talk about me and my writing experiences, something I can easily do in these blog posts. At lunch, I ordered whatever I saw that sounded simple and easy enough to eat without making a mess of myself. I think I ordered the original chicken salad without a side and just a lemonade to wash it down. I honestly didn't have much of an appetite, but would keep that to myself. Side note, I know Chicken Salad Chick is a big deal in the South and right up my taste buds alley, and though this would be my first visit to the famed chicken spot, I really didn't care how good their chicken salad was at the time. I was about to find out if a TV show I created was good enough to be created. As a writer, you want people to like not only what you have to say, but how you say it. So when John and Elena were describing their experience and reactions to reading the pilot, which they read nearly at the same time but separately, and I believe Elena was ahead a couple of pages than John was, I started to sense that it was all positive as they were laughing at funny parts from the script before John ended with, "We loved it, we want to shoot it." Spit take number 2. Okay, I didn't spit my lemonade out, but that shy Pakistani girl in me felt like she was dreaming. I have been a fan of TV and film for as long as I can remember. I used to collect the TV guides and had a large collection stored in my closet as a kid, and I fangirl out with the Oscars each year. And as previously mentioned, my dad was a huge fan of TV and film. His birthday is April 4th. April can always be a tough month for my family and me, and prior to leaving for my trip to Atlanta, I had just learned on Good Friday, just before Easter, that my dear favorite aunt, Marcella Mall, known to us as Pupa Bali in Australia, died at 89. She was the last living sibling of my dad's. To me, she was the female version of my father. I do believe in angels, the guardian kind, and before leaving for Atlanta, I gained another one to watch over me, to accompany my dad. Since April, this experience for me so far has been a bit magical, but also filled at times with self-doubt and insecurity. I miss my dad, wishing he was here to be with me during this time, but I know without a doubt that he's very aware of it all, and though he's not physically present to put his arm around me, I feel his presence nonetheless. Who would have thought that after 24 years since first moving to Los Angeles, this TV guide collecting nerd would find her Hollywood dreams realized in the Eastern time zone via Georgia? But hey, it's back to where the Pakistani Southern Belle has always felt at home. The South. Fade to black. Note, Save the Cat, the last book on screenwriting you'll ever need by Blake Snyder. Second note, stay tuned. The pilot episode will shoot in 2024. No, I don't play me. And hopefully one of those streamers will pick up Pakistani Southern Belle. I have a favorite one, but we'll keep that to myself.